Thank you all for being with us this Friday afternoon. We have an outstanding opportunity to hear from the First Lady of Afghanistan at what continues to be. It's been an important year for Afghanistan and is going to continue to be an important year for Afghanistan and for the relationship of the United States with Afghanistan. We've been partners for nearly 20 years now in working to help bring stability and prosperity and representative government to that part of the world and to Afghanistan itself. And the Ghanis, both partners, Ashraf Ghani, the president, and Rula Ghani, have been key players in that effort. One in the forefront as a government official, and the other reaching out and talking with important members of society, in particular women in Afghanistan. And we know that there has been tremendous progress made by women in Afghanistan as evidenced by the opportunities to go to school, by the provision of health care, greatly reducing the number of mothers dying during childbirth. But there's a tremendous amount still to do, we all know. But Rula Ghani has been a tireless champion and worker to help move this process forward, and is of very importance right now at this time to make sure that women's voices are being heard and are being integrated into the decision-making processes that are taking place as we all hope Afghanistan is moving steadily toward peace, in the direction of peace, even if not steadily on a week-to-week basis. But that is the direction we all hope that Afghanistan will be moving in. And so we're very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to have the First Lady of Afghanistan here to share insights into the work she's been doing for the last 5 years now, and where we hope to go in the months ahead. So please let me introduce and welcome Rula Ghani, First Lady of Afghanistan, to be with us.
Hi, and thank you for taking a Friday afternoon to come and listen to me. I hope it will be worth it. I just want to first start by saying there are two reasons why I want to speak up. One is that it so happens that I've come on the week of Veterans Day and Veterans Week, and I think it gives me a good opportunity to thank all the people, all the Americans that have sacrificed sometimes their lives or their health to help Afghanistan. And that I want to assure you that their sacrifice has not been in vain. And the reason I'm saying that it has not been in vain, because unlike what you might read in the press or you might be hearing, the country is not crumbling. There's no article I read about Afghanistan where they don't use the adjective crumbling. The country is not crumbling. The government is getting stronger by the day. And as Ambassador Wayne has just said, there are a lot of achievements. And you have helped create those achievements. You have helped create the atmosphere for a new country, a strong country, because this government is going to be a strong government. That said, let me also state that I'm here talking as myself. I happen to be the wife of the president, but I'm not in the government. So what you'll hear is not the official line, but what you'll hear is what I hear from the people that come and see me. You know, I have a little office, and because I don't move a lot, I have an open door policy. And people have taken the habit of coming and seeing me. I usually see groups of people, not too many individuals because I don't deal with individual problems like I need to have an operation or I need a job or, these kind of things. I cannot, we are almost 36 million of people. I cannot attend to every Afghan, but I can attend to groups, and I love listening to people. I love trying to find out what their problems are and talk with them about what kind of solutions they could find and to advocate for them. So basically, what I will be saying is a little bit what I hear from everyone. And I do hear a lot, as I was saying a few minutes ago with another group. I usually get the gossips before my husband. So this being said, it gives you the context in which I'll be talking and discussing things with Ambassador Wayne. Thank you. Okay, good.
Okay, is this working? Everybody can hear? Well, why don't we start off where you ended up? It's been 5 years now that you've had that little office listening to people. Mm-hmm. What changes have you observed during that period of time? How has the dialogue evolved with the Afghans that come in to talk to you?
The changes are enormous. I mean, the changes, the intangible, are incredible. People are so much more vocal, so much more articulate, so much more creative, thinking about what they can do and what not, what they can start. In the beginning, it was, the people were somewhat timid and trying to figure out what is this new person that's coming and opening the doors of the palace. Before that, the palace was not open to the public. And so the difference is I find a greater vitality among the people. And I find that they have been encouraged to speak up. And, well, we'll go into details as you ask the questions.
All right. Well, in fact, over the past 2 years, it's been clear that Afghans on all parts of the political spectrum long for peace.
Yes.
And you have, as part of your dialogue and part of your effort, have been encouraging women to discuss these issues, to form their own thinking and then to share those thoughts. Could you talk a little bit about that process and what you've heard from women and how you've seen their willingness to participate evolve?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to put this on my head. Maybe my microphone will work better. Yes. If you want, I'll speak up. Is that okay? Okay, good. Okay, so basically, in the past 2 years, and it's probably a topic of the hour, which is the possibility of bringing peace to our country. Already from the start, people, when they spoke to me, always complained that we're tired of war, we want peace. And slowly, it became a much larger sound and much larger declaration that people wanted to have a normal life. And women in particular, because women take care of the house, take care of the children, they would say, I worry every morning when my children go to school, are they going to come back or will there be a bomb on the way? So once in February 2018, President Ghani announced that he was ready to start negotiation with the Taliban. Everybody was so happy. Everybody said, okay, we're going finally to have peace. But we all know peace takes time. And we have been talking about it. I'm sure the government has had pre-negotiations trying to prepare the ground. And, but what has happened is that people started embracing it and starting talk about it as if it's something that is going to happen for sure. And you know, we had a very successful ceasefire for 3 days. Right after that declaration, it was Eid. It's one of the religious festivals. And my husband said, we'll have a ceasefire for, he made a declaration that we'll have a ceasefire for a week. And the Taliban said, okay, we'll do it for 3 days, because the Eid generally is 3 to 4 days. And it was incredible. Young Talibans came to the urban centers. They left their arms at the entrance and were able to go freely to see people. People embraced them, welcomed them. They were surprised. And because it was a religious festival, the mosques were open. There were people praying. They went into the mosque. And they found out that, well, this is the same kind of prayers we're doing. It's the same thing. So it was really a very important experience for them. And actually, a few of the younger ones decided, okay, let me find a different job than being a Talib. And maybe this is why, ever since that very successful ceasefire, whenever the government asks, let's do a ceasefire, or whenever even at the Doha talks, they were asked, can you do a ceasefire? And they say, no, no ceasefire. It shows their insecurity. They're worried that if ever a ceasefire happens, a lot of their combatants will leave. Anyway, so to make a long story very short, so the government was engaged into pre-negotiation. And then I think in December of 2018, we woke up to Mr. Trump tweeting that all troops need to be removed from Afghanistan, which is something that's logical. They've been there for 18 years, and it is time that they should be moved. And the answer of the government was to send a letter saying, okay, we do have this treaty between us, and which is called the BSA, Bilateral Security Agreement. Let's discuss it within the treaty, and let's do it gradually so that we don't have, we can adapt to the transition. Unfortunately, and I'm not privy, I'm not the government, so I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that sometime in March, we found out that America is talking to the Taliban in Doha. And we were not told beforehand, and the envoy who shuttled between Doha and then to Kabul to supposedly tell us what he was doing, never, I mean, he would talk, but he would never give a written report. It was never clear what he was discussing. So we've had this since March, and you know, it eventually did not come to fruition when President Trump decided that that was it. He did not want to have those talks anymore. I think it was in September that he said that. Anyway, but the reason I'm mentioning that is that the Doha talks brought a lot of anxiety to the Afghans because they were not told what was happening. And the ones that were the most perturbed about it were the women, because it's very clear that the Taliban have a very particular way of looking at women and of saying what is their place in society. That's very different from what the women now enjoy in Afghanistan of today. And so the women really were very vocal, and you must have seen that in the media, in either making declaration or being in the round tables or being writing op-eds or reaching out to, they may have reached out to some of you because they reached out to their sisters all over the world. And from that started a discussion. What is it that we can negotiate? What is it what kind of results do we want at the end? What are the things we cannot live without? It was very important. Slowly, men also took part in the discussion, but they were more cautious at first. The women were the one who started very strongly. And there have been a flurry of discussions, of events, conferences from civil society, from embassies, from international aid agencies. A week doesn't go by that there is somewhere some big discussion about what is peace, how should we bring it about, and what are our red lines. And the discussion was a long process, several months. But very quickly, people realized that there was one document, an official document, that really protected the rights they enjoyed at this time and their access to services and the achievements they have made. And that document is the Afghan Constitution. So this is why you will hear people saying, my red line is the Afghan Constitution. Kind of telescoping the whole argument in just one sentence. And at first you might think, okay, it's an empty slogan. It's not. The Constitution says very clearly that all Afghans are equal. No Afghan is better or worse than another Afghan. That men and women are equal, and that they're all equally have the right to access health services, education services, legal services. Another point that for me was extremely interesting is that in the Constitution, there is also the kind of economy we're having. And it states that we'll have a free market economy. So all the business people now suddenly say, no, we want this Constitution. This protects our right to be able to transact, do our work, work with other countries, bring things without having the government interfering or planifying what we can do and what we cannot do. So, in a way, I'm happy that there were the Doha talks, because it brought all this discussion and it brought a clarity to the people of Afghanistan and a unified voice. You know, we have freedom of speech in Afghanistan, and it's not a joke. We really have freedom of speech. My husband is often insulted in public debates. I sometimes suffer some criticism, but we can take it because we're comfortable with what we're doing. We don't, everybody has their own opinion. The result of the freedom of speech is that in the month of August, when we were celebrating our 100th anniversary of independence from the British, there were a lot of programs on TV, historical programs, debates, and everybody was watching TV, and I was watching too. And I had the chance to see 2 different debates in which one member of the panel was a Talib. And I had the chance to hear in their own words what they were saying. And unfortunately, they have not changed their mind about women. They still say that we are ناقص العقل وناقص الدين. That were the exact word, which mean incomplete brains, and very poor knowledge of religion. So we're very clear about this. They tell us, oh, the Taliban have changed, you know, are respectful for the women. In some of the occasional, I would not call them meetings, they will open the door to the woman, they will let her go. This is a big change. Well, but they still think that the women cannot think and know nothing about religion. So as far as I'm concerned, there is a lot to be done before we can reach an agreement. In the other panel, what had happened is that one person had asked them, okay, you want to come and govern Afghanistan. So what is your plan for the economic development of the country? And the man said, oh, it's very simple. We'll apply whatever we have learned in madrasas. They don't teach economy in madrasas. So are they ready to govern? In the 5 years they were in Afghanistan, because they were only there for 5 years, from 96 to 2001. Did they manage to govern the country? I'm not quite sure. I arrived early 2002, and I had to look high and low to find a little plastic bucket that I needed to use in my house. So, yes, peace is definitely on the docket. We want peace. How we're going to achieve it is still a big question mark.
So what kind of steps do you think can help bridge these gaps that you've just talked about between the perceptions of the government, not just the government, non-Taliban Afghans, and the Taliban? How can we start working to build that trust and confidence and understanding to make peace more possible?
I think, unfortunately, it's going to take time, because the Doha talks went directly to the Taliban. And by going directly to the Taliban and short-circuiting the government, the Americans have elevated the Taliban and have given them a lot of misconceptions of their own importance. So the essential thing is that Afghan Taliban are Afghans. We have a country that's called Afghanistan, and as Afghans, they should have the right to be there and to live there if so they wish. But they should come as Afghans. Can they come as Taliban? This is where the question gets to be a little more complicated, because they want to have in Emirates, an Islamic emirate. And we have worked hard the past 18 years to create an Islamic republic. And the difference between the two is that the emirate means that you'll have a few at the top that are deciding what everybody else has to do. Whereas the republic and the way it is being implemented and understood in Afghanistan is a place where everybody is a citizen. And as a citizen, they have a right to speak, the right to voice their opinion, and they have also a responsibility towards the country to make something out of this country. And I feel that the Afghan people have understood that. At first it was a little bit difficult to absorb, assimilate, because for the past 100 years, whether it was a monarchy or a republic by the cousin of the king, or the successive party autocratic regimes, or after the parties we had the Mujahideens, who didn't really have a regime, so there were 7 people who were supposed to take turn every 3 months, take turn governing the country, or the Taliban were kind of a autocratic theocracy. It was always a small group of people deciding for everyone. Now it's different. And people now have a sense of ownership, that this is their country. They can do something to do it, to improve it. Young people come and tell me, this is our country, we want to make it pretty, we want to make it strong, we want to contribute to its economy. So I'm not quite sure that the way I read the situation, I'm not quite sure that the people of Afghanistan today are ready to relinquish their rights and their responsibilities as citizens. So here we have a problem, because the Taliban are insisting on an emirate. And keep in mind, how many people are the Taliban? I have no idea the numbers. But outside of Afghanistan, maybe 60,000. And inside of Afghanistan, we have almost 36 million people. So is it logical that 60,000 come and impose their way of thinking on such a larger number of people? This is why I say it's going to take time.
I understand. So in that connection, what's your perception of the security situation? Since there has been a lot of fighting, there have been too many civilian casualties in general, too many innocent people being killed, unfortunately. The Taliban, of course, seem at times to boast about their military prowess. But what's your perspective from where you sit?
Again, here I have a little bit of a beef with the media, because whenever you read an article on Afghanistan, they always say, oh, the Taliban control half of the country, they control 2/3 of the country, the government is not in control. So before coming, because security is not my work, but of course I live in a country where I have to be aware of what is the situation. But I asked from a professional, where are the Taliban in control? What part of Afghanistan the Taliban are in control of? And the answer was, of the 364 districts, we have 34 provinces that are divided in 364 districts. The Taliban fully control 12 districts. That doesn't mean they are in control of half the country or 2/3 of the country. The other thing, the Taliban are Afghans. So they're free to go and come. They're free to go in every corner of the country. And their modus operandi, the way they operate, is hit and run, or suicide bombing. So yes, they can create havoc in all of Afghanistan. They're not in control of it. So my perception of the security is that eventually, with the government becoming more and more organized, with especially the ministries of the security ministry, which is Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Defense, and the NDS, the intelligence, are going to slowly be able to take care of all this unrestness and restlessness, and they are going to be able to reduce the ability of the Taliban to hit and run and to create havoc in Afghanistan. I don't know if it was really very much talked about in the news. In Badakhshan, they have already cleaned that province that was a haven for the Taliban. And recently, as I was leaving for coming here, it was the turn of Ningarhar, where Jalalabad is, where not only the Taliban, but also Daesh has been kicked out from the places. They had bases and things of the sort. So I know you're going to tell me probably they will come back. It's possible that they will be back and forth. But still, they're no longer secure. These areas are no longer secure for them. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, but again, it will take a long time.
Thank you very much. Should we invite some questions from those who are here? Let's make sure our colleagues have microphones. All right, why don't we start up here in the front?
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. My name is Nazira Azim Karimi. I'm an independent Afghan journalist. Welcome back.
Salam alaikum.
Ghani. Salam alaikum. May I ask my question in Dari, please?
I'll translate. Okay.
I know, because I'm live in my friend in Facebook, they keep asking question. One question regarding current situation, lack of security in Afghanistan, as you know. Mother lost 2 kids.
Yes.
12 years old and 10 years old, sister and brother. As a mother, I know you feel sad about that. Do you have any message for their mothers? And also, a recent report was very negative regarding Afghanistan. Do you have any comment about it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, for the mother, I want to present my condolences. تسلیمت. چی بگویم؟ مادر است. It's the worst thing is for a mother to lose her children. As far as cigar is concerned, I think it's good to have cigar being always attentive to whether there is corruption or not in Afghanistan, because there is no doubt that there has been a period where there was a lot of corruption, and we're trying to attend to it. So, but sometimes cigar's mandate is to make sure that it is the American institution are not dispersing money in the wrong way. And that is something totally acceptable. But I know nothing about what people do or don't do, and I'm sure that there are people who are annoyed with that, because they probably stopped them from doing some of their schemes. You're welcome.
Can we go right over here, gentlemen? Then we'll come over on this side.
Thank you so much, and Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
My name is Abdul Bari. I'm graduate student and also director of Afghan US NGO here. So my question is regarding the woman involvement in the peace process. Unfortunately, so far in the dialogues and discussion that we had, women were excluded. We had just few women in the dialogues in Doha, Qatar, and also in Moscow. And women are the most they got hurt from the Taliban and the fight in Afghanistan. If the peace talks, and especially in the we reach in the point where the intra-Afghan dialogue start again soon, what is your initiative to include more women in the process? And also, do you personally plan to take part in the intra-Afghan dialogues? Thank you.
Okay, so you're talking about women and peace. The participation in the Doha talks and the Moscow talks, for me, these talks were not about peace. These talks were about political muamala. How do you say that in English? You understand, those of you who are Afghan. Exchange, trade. I mean, it's kind of more like a trade, trading of who should do what and everything like that. And yes, the women were not many, and but still, it's not. This is why I don't give much importance neither to the Doha talks nor to the Moscow talks, because they don't involve the population of Afghanistan. It's the people of Afghanistan who have to accept whatever conditions for peace we arrive at with the Taliban. Because if ever it doesn't happen like that, within 2 months, within 3 months, whatever negotiation, whatever peace document we arrive at without people's participation will be completely nullified. So it's not only the women, it's the people of Afghanistan, men and women, who have to be part of the discussion. And this is why I'm very happy to say that in the past few months we have had ongoing discussions. And we have had a lot of back and forth, and we have had all sorts of opinions. So I feel that the people of Afghanistan have really matured when it comes to peace and know exactly what they want. Now, you mentioned intra-Afghan talks. I would prefer much better to say Afghan-led and Afghan-owned talks. Intra-Afghan does not mean anything. It means that you bring 2 Afghans and you let them talk to each other. We don't need people to bring us. We know how to do it. And in the Afghan-led, Afghan-owned discussions, there will be, the government will be leading it, because the government is the one who's waging the war. So they are the ones who have to lead it. But the government is committed to have the people at the table. We have already had many meetings. Through my office, we already have made a consultation in 34 provinces. We went and talked with the women. We asked them, what is peace for you? What are the obstacles for peace? How do you think we can reach peace? So we have listened to 15,000 women, what they have said. And we have, at the end of it, it's not just my office. It's my office, women from the High Peace Council, women from the Ministry of Women's Affairs, and women from the Ministry of Information and Culture. And AWN, Afghan Women Network, that's a civil society. It's a very large group of NGOs. We have made that effort. We have gone and spoken to the women, because it's easier to go to the people than have them come to you. And we have listened to them, and we have collected what they have said, and we have put it together. They made different declarations. We finally arrived at the unified declaration, and we had on February 28, 2019, just before the Doha talks started, we had a final gathering in Kabul, in the Loy Jirga building. There were about 3,000 women that were there. 700 of them were women from the provinces that we had visited and had talked. So we brought 700 women from the provinces, and the day before, these 700 women with 100 women from Kabul sat down, read the declaration, discussed it, made amendments article by article. They even added one article. And then they signed it. We have 3 big sheets of 800 signatures for that. This declaration, if ever we have the Afghan-led, Afghan-owned, this declaration will be in the hand of every person at that table, whether they're men or women, and they will have to abide by it. So if you read the media, you seem to think that, okay, there is those poor Afghans, they're not able to do peace, we need to help them. We have not waited for them to come and help. And I have my doubts that it was peace that was being discussed. Basically, they say what was discussed was the withdrawal of troops. They should discuss it with the government, because they're withdrawing from our country. Anyway, we'll see.
Thank you. Right here.
Thank you very much. My name is Paolo von Schirach. I'm the president of the Global Policy Institute and professor at Bay Atlantic University. Incidentally, we have many students from Afghanistan at our university. I'm very pleased to say they're good students and doing great. My question to you, madam, is assuming the best scenario that you said peace is possible and achievable, there is obviously the huge problem of economic development in Afghanistan, and of course a very young population, many people, many young people, and of course many women, as you pointed out, who want to be integrated, sooner rather than later in the workforce. What do you see as the most obvious next steps, assuming that things go well on the peace front, as we all would like to see, in terms of encouraging economic development? In other words, what sectors do you think are the most promising? In particular, as we're here in Washington and you're talking to Americans, what would you like Americans to do in terms of providing incentives, capital, know-how, infrastructure, whatever may be the needs of the country? So what do you see the best road for a faster economic development? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are already engaged on that road. We have, I have less detailed information on this because this is not what I do every day. But we have, in the government, there have been a lot of efforts to create markets abroad, to open air corridors. It used to be that our only link with outside was through Dorkham, through Pakistan. And if Pakistan, and the people know that because they themselves, they come and tell me, it used to be when the Pakistani would close the borders, within 2 days everything would become so expensive. Mara me kushtan, they were killing us, they would say. But anyway, this is no longer the case. We have had a policy of opening to all of Central Asia, and there is a lot of trade that's ongoing, but we also have had a policy of air corridors. And our merchants now are able to send their products outside. So it's a beginning, but it is going in the right direction. For example, my husband is fond of always talking about the piñolas, the pine trees, pine nuts. And there is a great market for it in China. But what had happened, because these were the southern provinces that produced that, Pakistani would buy it at a very low price and export it to China. So we've short-circuited that. Now they're doing it directly. And now there are some people in Khost, in Paktia, who are making a good living. We hope to do the same with pomegranate in Kandahar and around it. Marble is one commodity that apparently we have some beautiful marble that can, of the quality of the Carrara marble in Italy. And so as the Italian quarries have less and less products to send, maybe Afghanistan can take over. We have a lot of things, and people are thinking through these things, so see the possibilities. It's not, the government just opens the doors, and then you have to remember that we have always been a country where merchants and traders were very active. We had the Silk Road, we had a lot of exchange. You know also that the concept of the check, writing checks, which is no longer that much a thing here in America. When I come, I never write a check, it's always a credit card. But the concept of check started in that area of the world. So it shows you that exchange and trade routes and things are in the blood of Afghanistan and Afghans. So that part of it is ongoing. I think there is going to be a very strong effort for food security. So agriculture is going to become much stronger. And agriculture is a place where women are very active. And we already have, through the Ministry of Agriculture, a Department of Home Economy, I think it was, Iqtisadi Family, or whatever, something, family economy, that addresses the women that are working in agriculture. So this is one thing. I know there are young people who are doing design. I've met with some people who are doing cartoons. We have filmmakers. We have people who are opening restaurants, opening ice cream parlors, cupcakes parlor, whatever. I mean, we have yoga places. People who have not been in Afghanistan for the past 3 or 4 years, you're overdue a visit. You need to go and see, because it has changed a lot. And what can Americans do? I'm not really quite sure, because it depends. I know what they can do when it comes to women. They need to help provide better professional skills for the women. Women need training. It's good for them to be able to get jobs. It's good if they can get good at one thing, one trade or one profession. This is how they'll earn respect, and they'll earn a very important space in society. But if they only know how to read and write and do a few sadirat or waridat, which is just kind of import-export. This is not import-exports. Sadirat waridat is in bureaucracy, where you receive letters and you send letters. Correspondence, yes, it's probably correspondence. That's not enough. That's not going to give them a place in society. So my own wish is that there would be more people who would be willing either to come and train them, or to bring them here to train them. There's always a problem that they might want to stay here, not go back. So maybe train them in Afghanistan. Yes, there is insecurity, but we all live there. We're still alive.
Good. Okay, 2 questions over here. Start with the young lady first.
Thank you. I'm Mahtab Farid with 670 AM Radio, and I proudly serve with Ambassador Wayne. First Lady Ghani, I don't want to ask about security. I want to ask about First Lady. You have inspired a lot of young women, because before Taliban were there, they couldn't even stand next to their husband, or their voice couldn't be heard. And now you're everywhere. You're standing and you're walking in front of your husband. So how did you manage to do that?
Okay, when people look at me and tell me behind every strong man there is a smart woman, I say, I'm not behind, I'm beside. Okay, I'm neither in the front nor in the back. We are working together. We are Hamsar, Hamrikab, whatever you want to call it. How do I do it? I don't know. I have not changed. People have known me before that, and there are a few here, know that I'm still the person I was before becoming First Lady. I'm convinced that everybody has something good in them, and the point is to try and find what is that good thing in that person, and to cultivate it. And I had also lived in Afghanistan. I got married in 75, so almost hitting the 45 anniversary. So I have lived in Afghanistan before the civil war. And I have known the Afghan women. And they were smart, they were happy, they loved to joke, they loved humor, they loved to work. I liked Afghan women. And when I came after the Taliban, and they were telling me, oh, women are victims, and they don't know, they cannot speak up, in this is the culture. And I said, no, this is not the culture. This is the effect of war. And we need to get back to what Afghanistan used to be before. And maybe this has helped the Afghan women, because I would tell them, talk to your grandmothers. Let them tell you how it used to be. It does not need to be some foreigner who comes and tells you, oh, you have rights. I don't care about the rights that they want to give you. Talk to your grandmothers and find out how the women were respected before. And I did a lot of that in the first few years. And one of the things that I kept repeating was mutual respect, احترام متقابل. Because in a traditional society, when you talk about respect, it is a concept that is acceptable by everyone. If you start talking about rights, everybody will say, okay, that's your right, what about my right? Okay, especially men will say, women's right, women's right. I have rights too. Okay, so I don't know how I did it. And I love talking to people. You can notice that. So I've been talking to people as much as I could. I've been listening to people too. It's very important to listen, because you cannot impose your view of things to the person. You might know the problem, but you need to understand the problem through the eyes of that person. So I hope I answered your question.
Hi, Peter Summon with Capital Intelligence, Greater Central Asia. My question is just, it fits perfectly here. Will you be speaking with Ivanka Trump? Because she's been working with IFC very effectively of getting money to women-owned businesses in these markets. Women run the best companies in all these fragile economies because they know what's important about getting things done. And this myth about you need security before investment is the biggest waste of time. It's jobs that defeat the Taliban and terrorism. When people grow their businesses, there's peace. Will you be talking to Ms. Ivanka Trump on this, and possibly the IFC?
I'm leaving soon, so probably not this trip, but thank you for the suggestion.
One question way in the back there, waving their hand eagerly. And then I think this will be the last question. Oh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm Khalida Nawabi, one of the students in Washington, D.C. Law School. I have my question regarding the peace talks that happened in Doha. Actually, Afghanistan government or the people are not let that participation that Afghan government have done, because they keep Afghanistan at the backstep and making other countries like Pakistan or other related neighbors to be a part important than Afghanistan. So my question is that, so you're working with the president, of course, very close. What is the next step for the peace talk, especially that Afghan ideas and opinion regarding peace should be at the front, not behind the neighbors, and their point of view should be on the second opinion, not at the first. So my question would be, what's your plan for the next peace talk? And I will just make addition to the comments that Afghanistan has been always women participation. Our presidents in a monarchy and in all history, we had all the women working together, the president or whatever. But this Taliban period had made this short and make the people not to be a part of that. And I don't know, this minority group have affected our whole life that we should get rid of them soon as a peace talk or whatsoever. I know they are a part of Afghanistan, but majority is a part of our neighbor countries, not Afghanistan. Thank you.
I want to thank you because you gave this audience a true example of what the Afghans feel and think. You know, the peace should be an Afghan peace. And I agree with you. I don't know what is going to come next. I work closely with my husband, but somewhat independently. I do my bits. I listen to women, I listen to young people and all this. But I am neither, I say it in Dari, neither selected nor elected. Na muntakhab, na muntasab. So I don't have the capacity or the prerogative. I don't have the prerogative to be involved in the details of government. Okay? So I cannot answer your question, but I can assure you that my husband is very serious about having an Afghan-led, Afghan-owned thing. The situation is complex. We have a lot of countries around us, and each one is involved in one way or another. My husband has developed what he likes to call strategic patience. And eventually, he will get his way. And we just, but as I said, you know, I don't even call the Doha talk peace talks. But we got something out of it. We got people discussing. We got people talking to each other. We got people to become unified on their position. It was a great achievement. So we need to, like this, take everything that comes to us, kind of turn it to our advantage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much
to
for having
explore
me.
with you this process.